Hi kids, my name is Sara and I'm Abraham's wife. I'm sure you have heard of my husband, but I would like to tell you my story and how God gave me the name Mother of All People. For many, many years I wanted to have a child, but it was not possible. One night, God promised my husband that he would have as many children as the stars in the sky and as the sand of the sea. Have you tried counting the stars? Wow, there are too many. It's impossible to count them. And how could I have so many children if I was almost 90 years old and I didn't even have one? Over time, I lost hope of becoming a mom. I didn't know what to do. So I got the idea to convince my husband to marry my slave. Since she was my slave, her children would become my children, and then we could have all the children that God had promised us. But do you want me to tell your secret? That was the worst idea of my life. And why? It all started when we went to Egypt. There was a big famine. We couldn't find food anywhere in Canaan, so we decided to travel to Egypt. Pharaoh welcomed us with many gifts. I was very beautiful back then, and Pharaoh liked me very much. At that time, we sinned against God by lying to Pharaoh, and that is something you should never do. Abraham told him that I was his sister, and well, I didn't say anything. Since Pharaoh wanted to marry me, he gave Abraham many gifts and some slaves. Thank God that he saved us from this embarrassing situation, but we needed to leave Egypt running. Among the slaves that Pharaoh gave us, he also gave me a slave. I was very happy because I didn't have to do as many things around the house as before. She helped me with everything, and we got along very well, until she married Abraham and got pregnant. There everything changed. When Ishmael, her son, was born, the problems began. No matter what I said to her, she no longer obeyed me. She became proud and stuck up. She was rude and did whatever she wanted. I spent my days crying, but she got worse and worse. She was even bossy to me. However, my husband was so happy because we finally had a son. He didn't realize how sad I was. Our marriage was no longer the same. One day, 3 very handsome men appeared. My husband invited them to eat, and one of them told him that I was going to have a son. I couldn't help it. I laughed. That was impossible to believe. I was 90 years old. 90 years old. I was too old to have children. But I decided to believe and to trust God. Nothing is impossible for Him. I knew that God was going to answer my prayers, and soon the promise was fulfilled. And finally I had my son, Isaac. It was so much joy, so much joy. But now the problems with Hagar and Ishmael got really bad. Ishmael teased Isaac a lot. And in order to avoid future problems, Hagar and Ishmael had to leave. That brought peace in our home. Although it was very difficult for Abraham to see Ishmael leave because he loved him so much. After that experience of faith, God changed my name. Before I was called Sarai, now I'm Sara, which means princess. You know, I learned 2 lessons. First, there is nothing better than trusting and believing in God. The second thing I learned is that it doesn't matter what happens, you never should lie. You always should say the truth. And besides, it's important that other people don't get into your marriage. From that moment on, I became the mother of all who believe and trust in God. Much later, Paul, a good teacher of the law and a follower of Jesus, said, that all the children and people who trust God are my children, and those who don't trust God are children of Agar. Did you like my story? I hope so. Don't forget, never lie and always trust God. See you guys!